let's rock and roll a little bit. Let's talk about messaging. There's a transformation that's taking place. When Akbar said he got on that stage with Russell Brunson and he stomped his foot and he yelled, he felt expression. He was experiencing something that really is that ultimate alignment. The ultimate alignment that we're looking for is when your message is in alignment with you as the messenger. When the messenger becomes the message. But that's tricky to do. It's tricky to do because there is an alignment that's necessary. It's one of the fun things, especially as a speaker. Every single one of us in here is a communicator of some sort. You know, and when you get an endorsement like Akbar gave me last week, you know, it creeps in. I know every single one of us probably deal with this same thing. It initially creeps in the imposter syndrome. Is you begin hearing that voice in your head of, oh, I can't add up to that, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And that little whisper starts creeping in. And so I just wanted to be transparent even from the beginning of that's something that we all deal with. And the reality is you're not an imposter. I'm not an imposter. But that voice that we hear is something that we have to have a counterattack against. And that's one of the things that I work with a lot of my clients, because that's something that every single one of us deals with. I'm really excited about this change that we've seen in what Akbar is experiencing. You know, when he got on that stage with Russell and he said he stomped his foot and he yelled for the first time that he ever remembered in his speaking, that what we're witnessing there was an alignment of the message with the messenger. And ultimately what we're looking for in all communication or where we're at our most powerful is when we are in full alignment, when the messenger is the message. When we become the message in totality. But it takes some intentionality to become that. It doesn't just happen naturally. And so, and I think every single one of us in here can absolutely agree. The number one thing that every single one of us are looking for is we're looking for someone to click the button. We're looking for someone to sign up for whatever the widget we have, sign up for the service that we are offering, because we feel like we've got something that can really help people. But far too often, and this isn't every time, but far too often, people get this problem in reverse. Is they'll talk just about their widget, they'll talk about their service, and really they make it about themselves, and they wonder why nobody's responding. It's just like the person at any cocktail party that just talks about themselves, and they wonder why does anybody want to talk to me or hear what I have to say? If you're only really talking about yourself, that's really kind of a turnoff. And I highlight that just to say that comes into the mechanism that we use to communicate with. And you'll hear this in Akbar's message as he's speaking now. Really, there's got to be a cause that we're fighting for. The message has to be about them. But there's frameworks and there's principles at play that allow us to do that. But the reason the people don't click the button isn't because you're not offering something great. It's because there's a lack of connection. There's something that's missing within that communication that's just causing them to either swipe away, move away, or even just not hear the words that you're speaking, because there's just way too much noise. So there's an intentional way that we need to reach out with people. And there's a primary principle that I'm going to begin teaching you guys is that communication is just simple math. It's not personal. It's just simple math. Intentional communication creates an intentional outcome. If you're not getting the outcome that you're looking for, it's not personal. It doesn't mean you're a bad communicator. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that the service that you're offering is a bad service. It doesn't mean those things. It's just simple math. It means how you're communicating is just not getting the outcome that you're looking for. It just means tweaking the communication. It's not personal. It's just math. There's just something in the mechanism that is just not coming across the way that connects to that other person. Let me give you guys a quick background on who I am, just so you kind of know who you're talking to, who you're hearing from. Yes, I am Akbar's communication coach. We're working on his message, but I spent 30 years in broadcasting with ESPN, Fox Sports, in sports broadcasting. Worked 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys, 15 years with the Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Stars. I'm obviously in Dallas. So I'm a second generation broadcaster and freelance camera operator. Michael Jordan once landed at my feet, and I had the opportunity to reach out and touch the hem of his garment. Can I jump higher, run faster if I do that? So I've got some great experiences, World Series, World Cups, Super Bowls, you name the major event, I've worked at it on the broadcasting side of things. I also spent 10 years as a pastor, so hundreds of hours on stage, crafting messages that help create impact. And that's one of the definitions I want to start with, is because it comes from the root word, the Greek word for the word faith. The definition of impact is when you persuade a person to take action. If there's no action, then there's no impact. That action could be a mental shift. That action could be clicking the button. That action, an impact means someone is ready to take an action, either mental shift or whatever it may be. In fact, so I don't want to tease that word, but the root word of the word faith is the word pistis. It means the persuasion to take action based off a promise, warranty, or guarantee. That means, as a communicator, if I'm offering the right promise, warranty, or guarantee, it's going to persuade someone to take action. Simple math. If I'm not offering the right promise, warranty, or guarantee to the right person at the right time, then they're not going to take action. It's just simple math. It's not personal. And I really want to stress that over and over again, because that's when the imposter syndrome sneaks in. And the imposter, and you'll hear me refer to this on a continual basis, I refer to it as the accuser's voice. I see it as a spiritual warfare. I see that imposter syndrome, that whisper that comes into your mind from a wound, from a fear, whatever it may be. It's anything that makes you want to be smaller and communicate smaller. So what I want to do is I want to give you the frameworks and the principles necessary to overcome that voice and to step into the real you. Step into the calling that is you. Step into a cause that's greater than you. Something that you're willing to bleed for. Something that you are willing to fight for. You know, the best example of a communicator that we really, it's right in front of our face right now. Regardless of message, regardless of politics, that's not what I want to discuss this here. But the example of Charlie Kirk, look at the ripples that are taking place based off this communicator. Regardless of your agreement of the message, it really doesn't matter. What we're seeing there is a communicator who is operating according to a cause. Because he was operating according to a cause, he communicated differently. He approached each situation differently. A person who's operating according to a cause sees the audience as a dialogue. They're no longer speaking at people who are below them. They're trying to have a dialogue to create impact, which is change, which is action. And so that's part of the element that I'm hoping to be bringing to our conversations is, yeah, you can create a purpose statement, and that BAM statement is fantastic. I love that. But then we've talked with Akbar, there's one level deeper. What is the cause that you're fighting for? When Akbar recognized that the services we provide heal somebody, it changed him. It transformed something in him, and he started communicating differently, to the point where Russell really noticed. And the next stage he was on really noticed. When we operate according to a cause, we communicate differently. So that's my background. Come from television, come from pastoring background. So I will bring in elements of that to a degree, and but I just wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of that credibility. Let me highlight something really quickly. I want to show you, anytime I speak, I want to show you exactly what I'm doing. So you'll notice the credibility that I gave of myself just now. So far, I've mostly talked about the problem that you're dealing with. And then I gave a couple sentences on who I am. I think it's okay for you to understand the audience really doesn't actually care who you are. They really care about themselves. And the principal understanding that people are selfish and they're really just concerned about what they're feeling and what they're going through is the critical factor. Once you understand that, it's not personal. It's, are you able to connect with that person and their pain? So let me go into some principles just real quick, because understanding the big picture of communication is one of the critical factors. Each person that comes on our ad, runs across our email, or anything that we're offering within the funnel, they're at a crossroads of some sort. The ones that pay attention are at a crossroads of some sort. They are feeling something. They're feeling a sense of pain of some sort that hopefully your service has the ability to heal that pain. At that crossroads, they're looking forward and they see a fork in the road, and there's two options. There's happily ever after and the hope of happily ever after. And they've got a picture in their mind of what that might look like. But they've also got a picture in their mind of a total dumpster fire, of everything goes wrong, of this thing actually getting worse. What I want to lay out to you, that hope and that fear, those are the motivating factors that people make decisions based off of. They decide if I'm going to move forward based off of the degree to which I feel that pain. And let me isolate just a little bit more here for you, because you'll recognize it. Some people, as soon as they see your ad, they're going to respond and they go, "Oh, I need that immediately." And those are the early adopters, the people that, as soon as they see what you have, they need it, they want it, and they're gonna go through that. They're gonna go through that funnel like it was a slip and slide. I mean, they're just gonna slide right through that thing and get into your group, get into your service as quick as possible. Those are the people that are like in the emergency room. They're feeling that pain of whatever the problem is so acutely, so extremely, that as soon as they see an option, they're going to act on it. That's one coping mechanism that people have. Pain equals action, and they're going to take that action. But then the vast majority of people try to act like they don't have any pain. They're strong. They don't need anybody. They feel nothing. Those are the people that still have the problem. But now our task is to help remind them of that problem. Is to bring that to the forefront, hopefully long enough to where they'll take action on it, to where they feel it enough to where they'll go, okay, I'm going to hear a little bit more. Maybe that person's going to go one step into your funnel the first time. maybe the next time they see you, they go 2 steps into your funnel. And that's a pattern within funnel. Sometimes they'll just go 1 step. Sometimes they'll go 2 steps. Eventually they'll go all the way through and they'll schedule the appointment. But that's why there's those pixels, because people go from stage to stage. And sometimes they just get a little bit further, a little bit further, and a little bit further. That's why we have messaging at each stage. So what I want to hit on today is just a couple of the elements that I want to begin teaching on a regular basis. First off, frameworks bring freedom. If you operate according to the right framework, then you're going to feel freedom within your message. To me, scripts are the curse. Scripts are the curse because I come from live television. I come from reacting to the moment and the alignment of that person with of the messenger with the message. And so that's the perspective that I come from. And so live television is all about operating according to frameworks. In fact, every sports broadcast you ever watched operates according to the same framework that was adapted in 1960 by Roone Arledge. And he was the originator of, if there's any Gen Xers like me, remembers ABC's Wide World of Sports. He created a framework and a formula in 1960 that altered all television going forward. And every sports broadcast you watch, from dodgeball to the NFL, operates according to the same framework. And so frameworks bring freedom. And so a couple of things that we're going to begin coaching on a regular basis. There's a couple of pre-decisions that are really necessary so that you can operate freely within the proper framework that your message is requiring. The first thing is, what is the cause that I'm fighting for? What is that hurt that has to be solved? That wrong that needs to be made right? In the service that I provide, what is the flag that I'm waving that says, hey, I'm going to wave this flag regardless because I believe in this cause and I want to help these people? It's the cause you're fighting for. It's that thing you're willing to bleed for. It's the thing you're willing to risk exposure on social media for. You're willing to risk the scary comment of someone calling you an idiot because they're going to. But all that means is your message wasn't for them. And it's just simple math. It's not personal. It's just math. Your message and the magnetic pull did not match that person. It pushed them away. A magnet both pulls things towards and pushes things away. And that's okay. Once you understand that, you realize, oh, it's not personal. It's just math. It's just how the messages operate. So that's the first thing that we'll work for. And there's formulas that I work through in that, but I just want to highlight the cause that you're fighting for. That's the first critical factor. The second thing is the problem at hand. And this is one of the critical frameworks that if you can learn the 3 layers of the problem, you can step onto any stage and at any moment, at any time, and deliver a clear message, because it will set you up for everything. And it's these 3 layers. What literally just happened? How does it feel to the people that it's impacting? And then why is this a right versus wrong scenario of happily ever after versus dumpster fire? Why does something need to be done about this? You see how dramatic it gets in that 3rd stage? Because I need to raise the temperature. Decisions are made based off of emotion. So I've got to raise the temperature just a little bit. I've got to be a thermostat and not a thermometer. I've got to be in control of the temperature of the room. So let me just show you in story form what this looks like. And let's go nursery rhyme for a second. So the evil dragon attacks the fabled village. It burns down the village, and it steals the princess. And so everyone in the town they're feeling scared, exposed because their house got burned down, and they're looking at the sky because they're wondering, is the dragon going to come back for my daughter as well? Where I feel exposed, where am I going to eat? Where are we going to sleep? And they're feeling all of these things in the moment and just paranoid about what's going on in the sky. That's why they have to hire the hero that has the magic sword, because that magic sword is the only way that they can kill that dragon, or else they're always going to be looking at the sky and worried about when that dragon is going to come next. You've seen that story in different variations over and over and over again in movie after movie after movie after movie. We saw the literal problem. The dragon came, everyone was scared, cold, and worried, and they had to hire that hero with the magic sword, or else they're just going to be scared and worried the rest of their lives. So now you show up to your local networking group, and the speaker doesn't show up. And they go, nobody showed up. Jessica, can you, you're really qualified. Can you get up and share something? Yes, absolutely. And you can stand up with full confidence because you're going to step into a cause in that moment. And all you have to do is identify, what's the problem I need to talk about? How does it feel to the other people? And why is this something we need to solve today? And then as the speaker, I'm going to step into that puzzle with them. Or another way of saying it is, I'm going to step into the fire with them. Because here's a persona I want to lay out to you. The speaker that connects is a guide and not a megaphone. The speaker that connects steps into the problem that other person is feeling and gets shoulder to shoulder with them. They build trust because that person goes, they know what I'm feeling. They know what I'm going through. They recognize me. They see me because they're speaking the words of my pain. And so I can trust them because I know they get me. That's authority. Authority is when you build trust based off that empathy. Getting into the fire with that person. Now, that doesn't mean just removing the fire immediately. In order to get them to make a decision, sometimes we got to live in that tension for a little while. If any of y'all are sports fans, you'll see this every time you watch a sports broadcast. Every time that play-by-play and that color analyst comes on and they talk about it, you're going to see these if-then scenarios. They're going to point out a situation. Now, if that right tackle can just set the block, if he can just set his feet X, Y, and Z, then that hole will be created and the running back can run through. You'll see a format. So every time you watch sports, you can actually say you're training to communicate because it works over and over again. They're highlighting a situation and talking about, and here's the critical factor here, and here's the critical factor there. If this, then this. So the third element that's critical for you to pre-decide, and this is where it's important to work with a coach. You need to be clear on the cause you're fighting for, clear on the problem that's at hand. Once you understand that framework, you can apply it quicker and quicker and quicker to any situation that you're in. So that the first several sentences of what you say is always the literal problem we're dealing with, how it feels, and hey, oh, I agree. We absolutely need to solve this problem today. The last thing is, how do I make my message sticky? And there's long-term patterns to this, but how do I make it sticky so that someone goes, wait, now what did you say? So anytime there's a sticky message, there's a little bit of a pattern interrupt. Maybe something is said just slightly differently to where someone goes, wait, now what? And they lean in a little bit. And it's not because you gave a paragraph, a narrative on your full thing. A lot of times it's just because you say what a 5-word sentence in the right way. And they go, tell me more about that. It's what I call a bumper sticker or a fortune cookie. It's your message boiled down into a sticky phrase that after you've explained it, everyone knows what it means. If you're a marathoner at all and you're driving around town, you see a little sticker that says 26 on it, you know, hey, that's another marathoner. Because that bumper sticker has been explained and it says, those are my people. So the cause that you're fighting for, understanding the problem framework, and then communicating in a sticky way, boiling it down to where that listener says this person has something unique. So it can be in that fortune cookie model, the bumper sticker model, where a lot of times that secret sauce that you have, I'll refer to it as a magic sword. What's the magic sword you have to take on the dragon? Or what is the methodology? The XYZ method or the so-and-so framework. Just by providing that sticky label to it, people say, oh, they've developed a full method on this. That's what makes them unique. I remember growing up, seeing a commercial for Clearasil, the acne cream. And it always stuck with me. They had this, it was like a cartoon and it's a line drawing across and then it's like this little divot and then a line going across. It's like a ditch. And it said, this is the pores on your face. And it showed the little dirt molecules or whatever at the bottom of this little ditch. And it said, but with Clearasil, our magic whatever can come in and magnetically pull out this dirt and pull it back out. It showed that it had a secret, unique methodology that probably wasn't any different than any other acne cream that was out there. Yet it communicated that it had a secret methodology and it made it unique. And so that's the third thing. And that requires, all three of those require pre-work. When you're clear on your cause, you're clear on how to communicate a problem, and then you have these sticky little messages, these bumper stickers that you can apply at any moment that's going to make someone lean in a little bit. When you have those, you can step into any moment and you can communicate your offer in a very unique way that isn't just talking about yourself, but it's talking about the other person, what they're feeling and what they're going through.